We give thanks for this opportunity to be live with you once more. Definitely, we give thanks for all the people who have actually joined us. We are a bit tardy today, but definitely we do give thanks for all these people who are with us live here in St. Lucia on Helen Television Service, and all the people who are with us live on YouTube, and all the people who are also live with us on Instagram. So give thanks for the instant love. Definitely, we just want to this evening head a period of time, and from probably about, we look at also a whole century ago, whereby you have what you refer to as your endogenous people, and to the extent whereby the United Nations actually called the Rastafari community an endogenous people, meaning that these are original people who like the Caribs and the Arawaks and the Tahinos and and as you would call these people here, definitely. And this evening I wanted to just basically look at the glory of the Rastafari over the years throughout the region, and then what is it that all these governments within the Caribbean, what is it that they have done when it comes to the whole aspect of organizing the Rastafari, when it comes to making amends for the disastrous legacy, and most people don't are not aware of, like, in St. Lucia, the difficulties that people who actually had that on their head. You see, right now I have a turban, and I'm sure you could see the outline of these, Congo Bongo natty dreadlocks under the turban, and a lot of people just associate, the locks, with just the style. And okay, they have locks, so you have beard, and you are Rasta man, and all these different type of things there. But people don't really have that full understanding of what it took to actually just grow these locks upon your head, these antennas upon your head. And nowadays, a lot of people are just growing locks for style, or they're growing locks because they don't want to go to the hairdresser. So you have people working in the bank with locks. You have people who are police officers and they have locks, and they have people that works at customs and they have locks. They have people that are doctors and they have locks. You have all type of people in the realms of society that actually they are what you would refer to as wearing or sporting what you call the dreadlocks, and not understanding exactly what is it that these dreadlocks actually represent, and understanding that the original dreadlocks, the Rastafari dreadlocks, growing up the locks. Give thanks from Trinidad, blessed love. All those of you from Trinidad, blessed love, give thanks for life. So many people don't understand that the dreadlocks was a sign of what you call resistance. It was a sign that we were fighting against the system of the oppressor. So definitely the wearing of the dreadlocks was not something that was actually done for style, and then you hair touching, and you dabbing up your little dreadlocks, and then you seeing whether everything is nice and everything is well in place, and you go to the loctician and then you have them twist it up for you, or you go to the hairdresser and do your dreadlocks. That is what it has actually come to now. but the whole aspect of what it meant to have a dreadlocks that has been actually shoved in a corner under the carpet, someplace under the bed, or put in the box someplace, and all these different type of things. And whether people want to eat chicken or chicken or whatever it is that they want to do based upon what's on their head as their business. I'm just talking about what is it that it actually represents, and then the calamities that the people who actually decided to wear the dreadlocks had to go through. You know, so you are talking about in St. Lucia, there was what you refer to as the Mon Jimmy raid, you know, and I know that there are families, people who are Rastafari families who, like, you have mother and you have father and you have children, right? And you have specific Rastafari families in St. Lucia because, right, they chose to actually rebel against the system or resist against the system by wearing the dreadlocks and moving away from the so-called family setting and going and live up into the heights, that the families of these people, they got so upset. You know, so there are stories, historical evidence, and these people there are still alive, whereby the mother and the father, they have the big pot on the fire, cooking the food, and then someone, you know, and some relative, you know, because they are so upset that the family have actually chosen to live the life of Rastafari by putting the dreadlocks and by staying away from the shit stem, as what they would call a Babylon, that they poison their pot of food on the fire. I mean, I know personally, I've sat down and listened to the story of a sister alive right here in St. Lucia that tells you of her story, Blessed Love Law 758, of her story that her children, right? Some of her children actually died because relatives poisoned the pot of the food on the wood fire behind their back. And when they see, well, when the children start eating the food and they see one child getting sick and the other child getting sick, and some of the children actually dying because the pots were poisoned, just because the families were not happy that they chose to actually live a Rastafari life, or they chose to actually grow the Congo Bongo natty dreadlocks. I'm very serious. You know, these things there actually happened. You know, so there are Rastafari people, right? There are Rastafari people who are actually, you know, they're living up in the hills. And in St. Lucia, there is one that you would call the Mon Jimmy Raid, whereby the Rastafari community, they actually left the villages and they left the community, and they actually went way up into the interior, and they went to live up in a mountain called Mount Jimmy. That is the tallest mountain in St. Lucia. And even, the brethren who actually made the song today, police mute mon Jimmy. There was someone say police mute mon Jimmy. Police mute mon Jimmy boy. Vini fait qui ça moi do. Vini fait mauvais stay. I mean, it's a song. So you might not even understand that the song that the Rastafari actually sung, saying that the police actually came up the mountain whereby the Rastafari people had actually left society and went up into the mountain. The police officers, I mean the Queen Elizabeth's, Royal Police Force, actually came up into the mountains, and shot some of the police, burned their little houses, took them down and threw them in the back of vans and things and all them things. And plenty of people, I know people there from Labourie, who used to be up in Mount Jimmy, and they actually got shot, and up to a day like today, that brother here has passed away already, God blessed his soul. And the man actually walked with a limp for the rest of his life, right? Just because he was shot in the mountain in Mount Jimmy, and dragged down, down into Babylon, and they chased them down and things. Many people were killed. I remember stories whereby people who tell you that the police go on the cannabis plantations, marijuana plantations, and just harvesting the marijuana, and they meet the Rastaman, shoot the Rastaman, throw him in the back of the pickup van. I mean, it was a pickup. It was like a pickup. Imagine that, you go and harvest ganja, because for some reason somebody tell you ganja not good. So you go up into the mountains, and because a man is actually growing some herb, you shoot them, you kill them, and then you take them and you just throw them into the back of the van, right? And you drive down into the villages, and the locks is dragging down underground, and you get into the villages and the town, even in towns like Soufre, right? I have first-hand accounts of brothers who were young at that time, seeing Rastaman locks dragging, in the street, right, in Soufre, and they shot dead in the back of the vehicle, and they just take them and they just throw them down from the back of the vehicle. You understand? And how many men that they just shot up in the mountains and killed just because they actually wearing the dreadlocks? You understand what I'm talking about? And then up to a day like today, right? Up to a day like today, no one has actually come out in St. Lucia and actually apologized for these atrocities, what you call the attempted genocide, whereby they try to destroy, kill, murder, vanquish a particular set of people just because of how they dress, how they look, how they speak, and because they chose to grow their natty Congo bongo dreads. I remember when it is that I told my mother, learned that, right? I was growing my locks, My mother was so afraid. She said that if she knew that I was going to grow locks, right, she would not even, right, want to give birth to me, because that time I said, but how can my mother say something like that? And I'm just young, I'm just 17, 18, I'm coming up, and I'm 18 years, I'm intelligent, I finished college, I was teaching and, I'm doing things and, and then my mother is telling me because I'm growing locks, she would not even have wanted to actually even give birth to me if it is that that she knew that I would have grown my Congo Bongo Natty and become a Rastafari. Why? Because she was afraid. She was afraid. She was afraid of all the challenges that I would have faced, all the sufferation, all the discrimination that I would have faced just because as I am an intelligent man, just because I chose to become a Rastafari, just because I chose to actually allow my wool to actually grow on my head, right? Just because I allowed myself to become natural, ital, natural livity, because I chose not to shave my beard anymore. That means that this would put me in a peculiar disposition whereby I would be targeted by the police, right? I would be stopped on the road all the time, right? I would be harassed. So if it is that in that time, when you choose to grow your natty Congo dreads, that means that, right, you then have to make up your mind that you want to get a job as a teacher, you want to get a job in the bank, you want to be able to go to school because they did not allow children of the Rastafari community to actually go into the schools. Up to a day like today, I mean, I was totally flabbergasted when I saw that even, like, I think it was last year, right, in Jamaica, there was still schools that were still preventing people with dreadlocks, Rastafari children, from going into schools. Right? Even a day like today, like this year, there was this legal case in Ghana, in Africa, whereby they were preventing Rastafari children from going into schools. So when I am telling you that in St. Lucia, that when I chose to actually grow my locks, my mother was afraid. She was crying because she knew that her son had chosen a path whereby he would have been persecuted, he would have been victimized, and even possibly murdered just because he chose to grow his antennas, his natty Congo Bongo dreads. Do you understand that? I don't know whether people really understand what I am talking about. That there were families, I'm telling you that. There are families here in St. Lucia. I have listened to, man, I sat down and I listened to the elder sister talking about her children, right? Her food, her pot of food, while she and her husband was on the farm working. Her own family members poisoned the pot of food that ended up killing more than one of her children. Can you imagine that? As a mother. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? As a mother, you have your pot of food on the fire, and just because you choose to become a Rastafari and your parents don't like it, your mother don't like it, your auntie don't like it, your grandmother don't like it, people don't like it, they're so evil that they would poison the food pan on the fire that would end up in you losing your children. So what worse pain could a mother actually go through than to see the lifeless body of a child? What worse pain can a father go through than that? You understand? So you mean to tell me that over the years, right? Over the years, the Rastafari community was restricted the opportunity to have an education, right? So you have to know, well, boy, if it is that you going to grow your locks and thing by your children, because you know, even if all that whole vaccine thing they're talking about, the Rastafari was not, because the Rastafari community never used to take vaccines and they used to burn down fire on that the establishment and the whole medical system. The children will refuse admittance into schools. So what are you telling me about that? What are you telling me about that? That when people go deliberately, right? People would see the, I mean, that's why the police was called Babylon, you know. Because the police at that time was the hands of the oppressor, the foot of the oppressor, the legs of the oppressor, because the police would actually hold the Rastafari people by the locks and drag them and take cutlass and cut off their hair with cutlass. I mean, you don't know about that. Tell me you don't know about that. Tell me that you don't know that police officers, right, used to chop off people's locks with cutlasses in St. Lucia. Tell me you don't know that. Tell me that you honestly don't know that. Tell me that, tell me that, I don't know. I mean, you could tell me that you could say it on you could say it on Instagram, and you could type the comment on YouTube. Tell me, you know, that you don't know that they used to cut off the Rastaman locks with cutlass and pull it out with their hands and laugh about it. You understand? So then all of a sudden, now people just want to just behave like everything okay now. And not once have they come and have they apologized, have they inquired, at least establish an inquiry and see the number of Rastafari people who were killed by police just because they're Rastafari. The Rastaman was not able to walk on the main road. Have you listened to the stories that the Rastafari people had to share? Rastafari was not able to walk on the main road. No, they had to hide. If they heard a vehicle coming, right? If they heard a vehicle coming, they have to walk on the side of the main road. If they heard a vehicle coming, they have to run into the bush. Because they would have been oppressed, beaten, killed. And you mean to tell me that in the time that we are right now, in St. Lucia, no administration, no government that have come into power have found it fitting to inquire about that, to have a period of atonement whereby they could actually bring forth the Rastafari people, that they could share their stories of what they actually went through, right, and make amends, right? As a man, I am 43 years old. I am 43. And I personally had to work 10 times harder than my contemporaries just to achieve something in my life, you know. Just to achieve something, man. I remember when I started growing my locks and then I was teaching. I had to leave it. And then before I went to university, I was in this other job, and everybody was saying, boy, when the personal manager comes, she'll ask you to cut your hair, you know. See, I just laugh and I say, me? Cut my hair for what? You know, because this was a sign of resistance. It's your natural hair. You know? They used to joke and tell you that you have centipede in your head. You know, they say, boy, the Rasta man have, Rasta people have centipede in their head. Like, you know what centipede? A centipede, they used to joke and, you know, and ridicule the Rastafari and say they have centipede in their hair and all kind of criminal jokes and all these different type of things they used to say about the Rasta man, you know. You know, I'm telling you the truth. In Dominica, they had a law that was called the Dread Act. I think that law still exists. I'm talking about 1983, you know. Recently, that Rastafari was shot and killed. As they saw them, they were shot and they were killed, and many of them were left to rot and decompose without a proper and a dignified burial. They call it the Dread Act. Read about it. Go on Google or Bing or whatever it is and read about the Dread Act in Dominica. Rastafari from neighboring islands were not allowed to fly into Dominica. If you had locks, you couldn't go to Dominica. You could not go to Dominica if you had locks on your head. You could not go to Tortola if you had locks on Tortola. No, man, you can't go to them places there. You have locks on your head, man. Tortola. One man, I said, no, you can't go to Tortola. You'll get to the airport, man, they'll just send you back. Imagine you pay your ticket, you know. And you are a human being like any other human being. It's just that you chose to actually wear your locks. And you reach Tortola and you're smiling and the plane land and you take your little bag. And then when you reach your customs, they look at you and stamp your passport and send you back. You understand? Dominica, same thing. Right? So we're talking about I was with a brethren. It's not funny. I was with a brethren. And he was telling me, Nasio Fontaine, out of Dominica. And he was telling me a story whereby an ex-police actually came to visit him. And then the ex-police had just lost one of his children, had died. And the ex-police, he said, I quote, that Nasir said, well, the police said that he felt like he was paying. He was paying for the fact that on one of his missions in the mountains in Dominica, Les Tiffany, yeah, you in Dominica right now, okay. One of their missions in Dominica, they actually came upon a Rastafari family. It's graphic, you know, I'm telling you. And I'm talking about father, mother, and children. And he said that they just shot them and left them in the mountain. There are many Rastafari people up to a day like today have disappeared and no one knows where they are. So why is it that society is behaving that as if everything is alright? You cannot just look at Priscilla Lash and just behave like everything is alright now, and then you've not even apologized, you've not even come and tried to make amends. So man, many people, many Rastafari used to, they used to shoot them, the family couldn't even come and claim their bodies and thing, man. It was shot and kill on sight, man. Just like in Jamaica, you have the Coral Garden massacre, right? They give them a little bit of money, about 400,000 US. They say they're going to pay them for reparations of the atrocities of the Coral Garden massacre in Jamaica. Ridiculous. So this evening, man, I wanted to highlight these things there, because right now it's political time in St. Lucia, and not one of these political parties, I mean, they're having a big party for true. When you pass on the road, these politicians are having parties. It's a political party for true. It's music and dance and wine and thing and drinking and all them things there. And nobody is coming to say, well, how is it that they are going to rectify the injustices that they have perpetuated against the Rastaman? So I see Bongo Wisely is online on Instagram, and you could put up the number for the television. So at least I'd have loved to actually hear, what some of our Rastafari people have to say here in St. Lucia, right, about the whole atrocity, what they actually witness themselves. Because plenty things. So how are you going to make up for that? For depriving a child of an education, for the trauma that you actually inflicted upon the families. How are you going to make up for that? And tonight, it's not a program where my head is what you use to do this, or you have PCOS, or you have fibroids, or you have a headache, what you have to drink or think. It's a different type of program. So what are you going to do? You're just going to go cold and you wouldn't actually contribute and say something upful about what happened? Even those of you on Instagram, come on the live and tell the people what you know. Not what somebody tell you, what you know as an elder or as someone who actually went through it. So at least everybody that put a dreadlocks now as a style should give the Rastafari some amount of commission. The Rastaman is the man that put his life on the line for dreadlocks, and now it's a style, and then nobody is going to actually recognize the people who were murdered for that. So that's what you're telling me? So now it's acceptable that even a police officer could have a dreadlocks. But at a point in time, you used to just arrest a Rastaman and throw him in a cell and cut his locks with a cutlass just because he have a dreadlocks. And now a police officer can have a locks. A lawyer, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, and now nothing is wrong with that. And no one is going to tell the Rastaman that Honorable, we're so sorry, we were mistaken. We treated you all subhuman. We killed you all, we abused you all, we chopped up your locks and everything. We're sorry for doing these things there. We were ignorant, we were silly, We were just following, what we so-called the colonial masters rule. We just sorry about that. Oh my, we sorry, we sorry. Nobody is saying that, and everybody is now just wearing the dreadlocks like a style, and everybody, moving along and laughing and giggling like as if it's some type of a joke, and no one is actually just telling the Rastafari, give thanks. Give thanks for staying true to the cause. Look at cannabis. I'm telling you that in St. Lucia, you had hundreds of Rastaman who were shot and killed on the plantations, planting herb, and now all of a sudden the cannabis is gonna be decriminalized. Like in Antigua, Dominica, St. Vincent, Barbados, Jamaica, and so what happened to the Rastafari and them that were just shot and killed because of that? So nothing but that. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. The lines are open. Let me hear what is it that the people have to say. Bongo Wisely, I know you yourself, you're a history book. I see you there on the Instagram live. You should call the number 1758-452-2693. Those people who are aware, so what you're going to tell me now, none of you all want to stand up for the Rasta man. Nobody is going to say that, okay, all right, yes, priest, what you're saying there is true. Plenty of the Rasta people were killed and jailed, and they were not able to get jobs. They were not able to get an education. They were traumatized, and we as a society have to acknowledge that and then make amends for that. Yes, Eileen, give thanks. So that's what you're telling me? That no one is gonna make amends for the fact that people used to be killed for wearing the dreadlocks. People used to be killed for smoking ganja, and now it's decriminalized. No one is going to say nothing about that. You're not going to say nothing about that. So no one is going to stand up with and for the Rastafari. Well. Yes, caller, blessed. Blessed. Don't listen to the TV. Just speak into your phone and come away from the TV, because don't listen to what you hear in the TV. Just go on the side. Bring down the volume of the TV. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Give thanks for the love, man. He say give thanks. Well, I mean, you see, Rastafari always taught people what? Peace and love. Rastafari is not the people that teach violence. You understand? Our thing is what? Peace and love. So right now we're calling for justice, whereby there must be acknowledgement for the inhumane treatment of the Rastafari people, all the murdering and all the plundering and all the different things that they actually did to the people. And up to a day like today, no one has apologized. Give thanks for the call, my brother. Love, man. Blessed. Give thanks when the brother actually stepped up. I mean, give thanks. Those of you on Instagram, you won't be hearing it because I'm hearing it right there in the earpiece, you know. So the brother actually just called and expressed, you know, how he is actually feeling about it, you know. So let me hear what our brother has to say there live on Instagram. Let's see if we could actually get a little piece from him. Yes, Honorable, go ahead. Give thanks, man. Go ahead. Natural. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Give thanks, my young 21-year-old brethren, you know, because a lot of, you know, right now it's easier, you know, and we have to give thanks for the elders who actually paved the way. You know, it's easier, man. It's so easy to wear a dreadlocks now, man. Trust me. I tell you that my experience when I was 19, you know, growing up and starting to grow my dreadlocks, it wasn't anything easy, you know, and then it is something that you had to just accept that it's gonna be a rocky road, you know, and tough and challenging, and you know, and a lot of young brothers never made it. You know, a lot of young people were killed, a lot of young people were made, a lot of people just ended up being mad on the streets, you know, because of the traumatic experiences that they had. You know, a lot of people were brutalized, a lot of people are crippled, you know, just because they chose to live a life that said peace and love. So it wasn't that the Rastafari would actually even think of taking up arms to actually defend themselves, because the whole fundamental principle of the Rastafari Livity was just peace and love, you know, as a one love, you know. So that's why everybody say one love, and even as a Rastafari, if you get upset, people say, "So why are you getting upset for? You know, you're a Rasta man, you're supposed to be upset," you know, and you know. So give thanks for joining the life, Honorable. Which country you joining from? New York. Oh, give thanks, beloved, for joining. Heart of love, man. Blessed. Yeah, man. Love, man. Peace and love, man. So give thanks for our young brother, 21-year-old brother from New York City that says, well, he's growing his locks, and you know, he you know, and right now it's easy in New York and these other countries. Just sign out of it and then come back again. Close it and come back again. Right, and then at the end of the day, many of the young brothers now, they go through and they can do their locks, they can do their little thing, but I mean, many of the ancestors couldn't have done that. They couldn't have done that. That's why I tell even the people that grow locks and just for style, you know, and don't keep no kind of principle, you know. You're supposed to honor, you know, the people that actually suffered just to make this a reality. Because the Rastafari within the community, right? The people in the community, you know, that actually took the fall and lost their lives, man. I remember I was hearing there's a sister here in St. Lucia called Mama Lavi, you know, and she was relating her experience to me, man, and that just broke my heart, man. That was heart wrenching, man. It was just heart wrenching. I felt like as if someone pushed their hand in my chest and twisted my heart. It was so painful to actually hear the ordeals, you know, that the black woman had to go through. It was just heart wrenching, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So It's nothing easy, man, and people just choose to actually stand by and say nothing. Yes, Wally Blacks, blessed love, honorable God, we give thanks for pioneering champions as the thyself and elders that has become a shield for Farai worldwide in the fight against good over evil, lifting the veils of injustice. I mean, definitely we give thanks, you know, for these things there, and then we just pray that, you know, people understand that how things might appear to be is not how it always is. And because the voice of justice has been silenced, that is why wickedness actually still exists. You know, so when people refuse to acknowledge the injustices of the past, right, how is it that you think that we are going to be able to move forward into a future of peace and love? So all these heads of governments now within the Caribbean, they're supposed to make reparations, atonement, right, to the Rastafari community. They're supposed to assist, you know, with proper educational facilities for all the years that they deprived Rastafari children to study and to go into schools and them things there. You have to fix that up. You know, you have to fix, you have to fix that up, You know, because remember the Bible tells you that there will come a point in time when people would be afraid of the seat of power. You know, right now people are campaigning to win the election and they'll do anything. But there will be a point in time when the seat of power will be right there, and they have to run from it because they know it's a hot seat. They know it's a hot seat. So you better be wary, politicians, and those of you in power, that you have a responsibility to actually correct the wrongs that was done, because, they just chose to actually, right, follow the colonial master and treat your own sons and your own daughters, your own brothers, your own sisters, your nieces and your nephews. Every home has a Rastafari in it. The same set of you who actually did all these traumatizing things there. The seat of judgment, right, is waiting, So there will be a point in time when people won't be campaigning to be no leader of no St. Lucia, people will be afraid of that seat, because that seat there will be a judgment seat, because you will be held accountable, because with leadership comes great responsibility, right? So when it is that right now big campaigning, everything is happening in St. Lucia, nobody is mentioning what is it that they are going to be doing to rectify the atrocities that were perpetuated against the Rastafari community. And then you still have, right, people with long locks and thing, and that going to vote and do all these different type of things for them people there, man. You think I going, remember, the ink that you put on your finger is red, So blood you put on your finger to actually put an X by somebody's name. And when you put an X, what does X stand for? If you go to school and then the teacher asks you a question, or let's say the teacher puts 3 things and say 1, 2, 3, and then if an X is by one of them, right? If an X is by one of them, what does that mean? What does X stand for? Wrong. Right? So if it is that today, right, with all the education that we have, all the high levels of morality and intelligence that we have, you going to vote for someone, and what you're going to be doing is put an X by their name to say that's the person you choose in this day and age. So you know what you are doing consciously and subconsciously? You are choosing someone by putting an X by it when you know that the X means wrong. Come on, man. Come on. Lucretia Jackson Smith. Blessed love, Priest Kailash. No idea about the persecution of Rastafari. Only now getting to hear. Ignorance is real towards the real plight of the Rastafari. Yes, ignorance is bliss. But remember that, we expect better, from the leaders and things. I expect that these people there, if it is that you don't come and just do it nice, and just come and, organize the thing and just make atonement and make sure that, there are 7 points that you have to take care of, or every way that you disenfranchise the Rastafari community. Through education, you have to fix that. Through healthcare, you have to fix that. Economic empowerment, you have to fix that. Land acquisition, you have to fix that. Emotional trauma, you have to fix that. You understand that? Social and spiritual aspects when it comes to the breaking down and making them feel like what they were doing was wrong, you have to fix that. All these things there have to be fixed. And that's the only way that there is going to be world peace. When it is that in every little corner that we are in the world, and we are aware that injustices were perpetuated towards a particular set of people, these things there have to be fixed. So give thanks for all those of you who were live with us this evening. It wasn't a night whereby, we were just speaking about headaches and belly aches and all these different type of things. It's a night where we highlighted the plight of the Rastafari community within the Caribbean region. And we spoke about the Dread Act. So take a time out and go and read. Go and read about it. And at least, even if you are putting a locks on your head for style, you would understand exactly what is it that the people actually went through just to be able to wear that locks. Give thanks for life and a mighty life giver. Remember that we are in a peculiar time, and the voice of the people is definitely the voice of God. So people, just hold evil accountable. And if you know that something is wrong, speak out against it. Don't just sit and be quiet. As the Emperor Haile Selassie say, evil perpetuates because the voice of justice is silence. And it says, even in the 21st century, with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still slew Goliath. So give thanks definitely, and do have a wonderful evening. God is love. Let us all love. Blessed love.